sound കേട്ടോ.
ബ്രൈറ്റ്നസ് കൂട്ടിട്ട് വലിയ കാര്യമൊന്നുമില്ല പറഞ്ഞു.
സാധനമാണോ?
സാധനമാണോ?
ഈ സംസാരിക്കണം. സാധനമാണെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക് വന്ന് സംസാരിക്കണം.
മൂക്ക് പോണ്ടല്ലേ?
സാധനമാണെങ്കിലോ?
ഓക്കെ, ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്.
So today we are going to talk about metacognition or ubiquitous assimilation. So basically metacognition or ubiquitous assimilation means absorbing everything anytime and anywhere. Okay, and metacognition is understanding how the human brain thinks. Okay, whenever we see a stimulus, how does the human brain thinks? Because when you know actually how the human brain thinks, we are able to understand or navigate through all of the challenges in life. So that is metacognition, which is basically the rarest intelligence that a human being possesses. Okay, so to start with, there is obviously few things. Our brain or our mind has two major faculties. One is the ego faculties and one is the mental faculties. The ego faculties is, I previously have talked about this many times in my videos, so you can check that also. Basically worry, fear, stress, guilt, shame, frustration, all the egoic emotion, the baggage emotions. Okay, there is also guilt, shame, worry, and frustration, etc. Yeah. So when basically if you are in this if you are working your mind through these faculties, the fight and flight mode is activated. Fight and flight mode. Okay, this is the mode. Okay, and it's usually done by the amygdala. The next faculty is the mental faculties. Mental faculties is basically all the imagination, creativity. You have contemplation, introspection, you have reading, you have journaling. All these are mental reasoning being one. My handwriting is wonderful, so please take down notes as I say. So this mode is activated when you are in the flow state. Okay, basically when the prefrontal cortex or when you are in a calm time. So imagination, contemplation, introspection, reasoning, reading, journaling, all these things. And then you have the identity. So identity is basically your self-worth, okay, your self-confidence, your self-worth, self-confidence, state of consciousness, perception, paradigms, beliefs, all this comes under identity. And then you have your external world. Okay, the external world is basically your people, condition, circumstances, situation, events, etc, etc. Okay, so this is the flow mode. Ego faculties, mental faculties, this is the identity, and this is the external world. Basically how the world or how a human being works is actually through this whole paradigms or beliefs. So I usually, for better conceptualization, I would say as this. Suppose this is a person or a human mind or a human brain. Okay, so this is the eye. Okay, this you see, I will just draw the figure also, so for you to basically understand. So let's say this, if we divide this to this portion is the ego faculties, this portion is the mental faculties. Okay, now if I draw this, this is the identity. The identity swings based on which faculties you run your mind more. So if you see, so if this is the brain, this is the eye, you have this circle is basically this, and you have the left side basically ego faculties running on this side, mental faculties on the right side. So your identity is basically swinging like this, which is the black thing, which is the green thing. Okay, so whenever you use your ego faculties more, slowly your mind or your brain turns on the left side. Okay, and all the things here which you see, the external world, people, conditions, circumstances, situations, events, all is the external thing. So as you work your ego faculties, your brain turns in the left. As you work your mental faculties, your brain turns to the right, and creating your external world. Okay, so this is a basic understanding of how a human being. This is a very basic conceptualization, as it's easy to comprehend also. Okay, a rough comprehension. Okay, so now this is a way, because see, your identity basically, what if you, whenever you have an object, whenever you conceptualize basically on anything, your identity, your self-worth or your belief all swings from these two concepts together come about to your identity. So that's how it works. Now in our brain, the first thing that I want to explain is RAS. Okay, it is called the reticular activating system. Our brain is able to easily recognize things and consume 11 million bits of information that we have from the sensation or the senses from that is our brain, from the environment or the external world, people, conditions, circumstances, situations, and events. Now, from the 11 million bits of information, what the RAS does is it filters out. Basically, it is a filters engine. So 11 million bits of info, the RAS filters out. Okay, so it's a system. It sits in the brainstem of the brain at the back. It is a basically awareness filtering system. After this, it goes to our mind. Okay, now our mind works in binary RTS. Okay, binary RTS is what I mean by is ones and zero, yes and no, good and bad, growth or protectiveness, scarcity or abundance. Anything, it doesn't understand something in between, either good or bad. So after the brainstem or the RS filters out, it goes to the mind. Okay, notice all these things are brain. So this is the amygdala, this is the prefrontal cortex, this is the brainstem, all these are brain. When it comes to this, the mind understands in binary, ones and zeros. So to support this, so there is a neuroscientist, her name is Candice, a Canadian neuroscientist. So if you check Candice, her works on neuropeptides. Okay, she has written this wonderful book called The Molecular of Life. Do check it out. She also says that she suggests that all the molecules, everything, it understands basically in the binary mode. Ones and zeros, good or bad, scarcity, abundance, growth or protectiveness. She has written a book on this. You also have to check out the book from the famous psychologist named Jeffrey Young. Young also suggested that the American psychologist, so the Young, his works on schemas. Schemas is absolutely wonderful. So we have the schema therapy. Okay, that is also developed by Jeffrey Young. So do check out his work also. Young's works also suggest the same thing, that the brain understands through the mind understands everything through binary mode. Okay, there is also another book called Prometheus Rising, which I highly recommend. Prometheus Rising is written by Wilson. If you check Wilson's book also, it talks about reality tunnels. Okay, that is what I have written here, reality RTS, which is a short. Okay, there is also another book called reality transurfing. I think it is written by Zealand. Zealand is a Russian quantum physics researcher. So he also suggests that his work, do check out his works on polarization. Okay, again, the mind understands things through polarization, good or bad, everything in ones and zeros, basically. And there is also a famous psychologist, Jean Piaget. Do check out Piaget's work also on accommodation versus assimilation. It's a famous psychologist. I remember Piaget's theories we were writing in psychology exams. So accommodation versus assimilation, all these things. So all these studies suggest us one thing: the mind, it knows only one thing. One's a zero, yes or no, growth or productiveness, good or bad, scarcity or abundance. Okay, so I want to establish these things very first before I go on to any and everything. Now, the last thing that I want to explain in this part, okay, which I think this part you will get a better sense of it. God, okay, association of MPL. MPL is basically materialization of the physical plane. Okay, materialization of the we will go and everything that we will go and speak about these things today. I will mention it or it as MPL, materialization of physical plane, which is car, bus, or anything that is our goal, anything that is in the physical plane that we see right now. Okay, and loss. Okay, I see a lot of things. I see a lot of people confusing a lot of things. So, for example, I've always heard people say that it's God's timing. It happens only on God's timing, or it didn't happen because it's not the correct God's timing. I also see people say that God didn't decide. Okay, there is also so many instances that I hear that if this is true, God's timing, God didn't decide. Why do bad things happen to good people? Have you ever thought of that? Why does unqualified people get jobs? So, if you've written, there is a book called the 1984, written by George Orwell. Orwell suggests one thing: double think. Okay, double think is basically deliberately believing in two lies. Okay, when people say it's God's timing, God has delayed it, bad things. So why does bad things happen to good people, and why do unqualified people get all those jobs? This suggests that this philosophy that we have is wrong, because we think that because when we do good, God likes us, and that is why God gives us things. So it is as if God is holding all of these good things, and if He is checking whether if there are any good people in earth, and if there is any good people in earth, if any people does good things, He is giving this. So that is what we, as we brought up from our parents, from our grandparents, from our around surroundings, people, conditions, circumstances, has taught this belief, and our identity is ingrained in our brain like that, in our mind like that. That if we do good things, we get good. So, which means that let's say if I want X amount of money, X amount of car, if I want a phone, all these things does suggest that if I do good, good things will come. God will give me good. So When I switch on the TV, I see these warmongers, what's happening here and there, left and right, and I see these leaders who also have support, have phones, cars, and X amount of money. So does that mean all these warmongers who kill people, they're having phone, they're having car? So if you come to that conclusion that okay, if I do good and as a result I get this phone or a car, so that warmonger who's killing people, he has a car, he has a phone, so he's doing bad, but he's still getting the phone, the car, or whatever he wants in life. So your philosophy is not mapping, it is correctly wrong. So what people do is, people whenever they have something or they want something, they maintain their life, they maintain their comes blaming God. They say it's God's timing, they say God didn't decide. It has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with God. If it had something to do with God, why would these warmongers, these people, these elites who kill people, why do they have all the material MPLs, or the materialization of physical pain, the materials of physical pain? Why do they have? Your philosophy is not mapping here. And because as I was brought up, I said pray. You pray, you sit and pray to God, you will get this physical thing. No. God has nothing to do with this figure. He has created laws. As a result, just like he has created gravity law, just as he has created manifestation law, he has created these laws which govern the universe. Okay, but he is not responsible for you to give anything in this life. Let's be clear. If that was the case, then bad things won't happen to good people. You think that good people deserve all the things? No, bad people also have all the things. So you think that all the qualified people will get good jobs. In that case, if your philosophy is correct, in your case, all the qualified people should get the jobs. But that's not the case. All the unqualified people will also get the jobs. So this is also, again, I will write here some swaying anchors. Okay, just to whenever, because our identity, just like it swings when we see at the world, it will always go into ego faculties, we will be into worry and fear, and we always believe these two double truths. And our brain, again, when the mind goes into double truth, it is confused. So it just says, whenever you think about this MPL or the any materialization, it goes confused and it doesn't know. Only if it knows it's good, it will you will see it in the physical plane. Okay. So the swaying anchors. First one being Aquarium. Archetype Aquarium. So there is a famous guy, psychologist, is a Canadian psychologist. His name is Eric. He is the founder of the transaction analysis. TA is very big in psychology, test books. So his work on life script. Okay. So his name is Eric Brenne. Eric Brenne in life scripts, basically it talks about all the social contracts that we have in our lives, all the things that, for example, all the people in hell are rich. I've always heard that. So your binary mind understands what? Don't go with money. Money is bad. Okay, I've also heard that, if you are black, you have to work double as twice as any other person. I've heard that if you want to become rich in life, you have to study hard. So all these are basically keeping you in the aquarium. So check out Eric's life script work. There is also one more psychologist, famous psychologist, but Carl Jung. Carl Jung also talks about the collective unconscious. Collective unconscious is also, do check out his work. Basically saying all the social scripts that we have in our society, and it keeps us in the aquarium. So just like these beliefs are keeping us in the aquarium. Okay. Now, what is actually happening here? Okay. So God has created some laws, just like the gravity law. So the gravity law suggests that if I leave this pen, it will go down. Okay, and that is because there is a gravity. God has created this law, gravitational law. That is why it is happening. You don't say that because of God this pen has fallen. Did you say? No. So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't make sense to blame God. One. You don't blame the laws also. When a pen falls at the ground, do you blame the law? Do you blame the pen? No. So you don't blame the law because the law is everywhere. It is absolute. Okay. Just like that, we also have the law of manifestation. Law of manifestation, which I will go into it, and the law of gravitation. So, what is the law of manifestation? So, before I go with the manifestation, there's a huge kind of groups in YouTube and so many things on the manifestation. So, it is a good thing and a bad thing. The law itself is a paradox. That is also one funny thing. Now, that is not the main aim of my video, but I will let you know on how, because it will help the entire team to understand how the human being works. Because a lot of time what happens is we associate with us with the physical plane. We have to be separate. If you check the books of the Bibles, if you check the books in the Quran, Ad-Dunya Sijnul Mu'minin, there is also written that this world is nothing but delusion. There is also, even science says that we only see 0.00035% of the actual things that we see. So out of the 100%, our eyes and mind is only capable to 0.0035% of the world. So in Hindu scriptures they say the world of Maya or the world of delusion. Okay. Anyway, so in all, what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter. The physical plane, the thing that you see, it is considered as the least thing. Actually, it is very much negated. If you see the scriptures and the Quran, it is very much negated. Now, the close definition of the manifestation is in one of the books that I read called Outsmarting Reality by the young author named Nero. So Nero says that manifestation is basically internally shifting to a degree that you are no longer emotional depending on seeing reality change. So, for example, if you want something, don't want. Yes, the law itself is a paradox. Yeah, if you want something, don't have emotional dependency on that thing. Okay, that is what, if you same thing said in scriptures of Bible, scriptures of the Muslims, Quran, all these things, the Aristotle, all these books says the same thing. Now, but again, what I see in this YouTube world is that, they say if you open any manifestation, they say you to repeatedly write things, repeatedly write affirmation, repeatedly write your dreams, and in the end they say let go. I know it doesn't make sense because the law is paradox. It says let go because there is two things to it. One bad thing is that your binary brain won't understand this, and what it will do is, whenever next time you hear a manifestation video, you will be like confused and you will not want to do this because it is a confusion thing. The good thing that's a bad thing. The good thing about it is you are able to understand all these beliefs. You are able to break it. You will be able to be aware that something like this, worry, fear, stress, with regard to a particular MPL, will be there, and there is something to work upon it. That's a good thing. And a person who has done massive work on it that I really like is Teal Swan. Do check out her book also. Her book is The Completion Process. Her work on fragmentation is also very big. So all these things, it is one good thing about this, we are able to be aware of all the worry, fear, stress, guilt, shame, frustration that we have on a particular area of life, and that we can uncover, work on it with the help of the mental faculties, imagination, creativity, contemplation, all these things, introspection, that we can work and cut the emotional baggage, and slowly it changes our identity from a person who was stressful when we even hear one thing to become neutralized or even positive when we hear the same thing. That is happening, and slowly when that happens, your external world surrounding it have to happen. Once something inside changes, then only the external changes. Internal, if you create this internal contentment or internal garden of contentment, the external will also be the same. If you have internal turbulence, the external will also be turbulent. Now, I'll just To better conceptualize and understand the mechanism of this law, I'll just draw something. So here, let's say MTL, materialization of physical plane. You want to have money, let's say 10,000 dirhams. Okay, this is the timeline. Okay, you get like 2017, 2020, you have 2023, 2025. So this is timeline. You can put weeks, days, week, whatever it is you can put. And let's say this is 2,500, let's say 5,500, let's say you want to reach 10,000, that's your goal. Okay, let's say 7,500, you have 9,500, basically 10,000. Now, so there's a person who in 2017, he finished school, so at first he got a job with 2,500, and then he got promoted, and then he got 5,500, and then what happened was this thing was going, and then again he lost his job, so he goes over here, and then he got another better job, so he goes over here 7,500 as time progresses, and then again he lost his job, okay, as after 2 years, and then 9,500, okay, then he started his own business, then it becomes over here. So you can see from this is how anything works in this world basically. So this is how, let's say this is a rough conceptualization on how his life went. So we will go back to the phone. If you see here, so at 2017, let's say if his beliefs or is like money is not good, or money is only for the rich people, or having too much money is bad, or or rich people are not humble. You have to, whenever you have a lot of money, you are not humble. You have all these beliefs at 2017. Okay, so what happens is, and then you went to your job, you see your manager earning something like this. So slowly, it is magnified. Okay, your mental faculty is working, and you're cutting the emotional baggage also. Okay, you see people that who's earning a lot of money, and it goes like this. Okay, so the core is turning left and right, and it's going like this. And once you lose the job, what happens is your core is going down. Okay, so maybe your friend circle is bad. Okay, and all your friends is also brought up in a same environment, who's having who's from a broke background. So all the beliefs, all these things again is magnified. So there is negative magnification that is going on. And then you see some YouTube videos, then you're able to understand how life works and blah blah blah. You're contemplating an introspection, and then you can turn all this negative into a positive thing. So the corner actually moves. So this is, as source is doing this dance, desire is also expanding. Okay, source matlab this person. So this is how magnification and maintenance is actually working. Magnification in the sense is doing this, and maintenance basically is this. The goal here internal garden of contentment. The goal here, you will eventually get here. Okay, one way or the other, no matter how much years you put in, you will eventually get there. And each time you are putting in, you're losing your job, you're contemplating, you're losing your job, you're cutting the emotional baggage, the egoic baggage, with the help of the mental faculties. Okay, and slowly your identity is shifting. And based on that, once your identity is shifting, your external world also, people, conditions, circumstances, situations, events also changes. Now, I can do with any MPA. Okay, let's say there is a man who was brought up in a very rich household. His father is making around 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 per month. Now his MPL will be to make deals or close deals of 10 million. He also goes to the same thing. Nothing is big or nothing is small in this world. It's just the rate of vibration. It's just that where do we cut the emotional baggage, how much you work, use these mental faculties and cut the emotional baggage, the egoic baggage, and then you reach the next level. That is it. So, which comes to the next question, that the goal of the life is always will have positive emotion and negative emotion. But the thing is to have contentment in the heart. It's never about achieving the goal. Okay, contentment is the primary thing. I will also tell. I saw this. Love the struggle. I came across a YouTube video. There is an Olympian. Her name is Alisa Lisa. So what she says is, I love struggling. I don't care about the outcome. I love struggling. Okay, there is a study done by National Geographic Channel which says that birds gain energy from flying, the fish gain energy from swimming. So what this suggests, that if you are in a place of authority, you actually gain energy instead of losing energy. That is why they say my job is killing me. So you're not doing something in an authority that you love. And it's very important to make that distinction, because there's a book called The New Psychology of Success. It's written by Carol. Carol, she says that life is actually about this struggle, because we can see this in my life, because me and my brother we work in our consulting company, and it's fun when there is a new thing and we are learning and exploring that thing, and then it's actually a dopamine hit. For example, if you find a bug and then you go search for it, and finally you solve it, it's actually a dopamine hit. I think life is about that. Life is about getting the internal contentment and loving the struggle. That is about life. It is never about the outcome. It is never about the outcome. And because if you think what will majorly happen is, you will never, because you will have more highs, ups and down if you go for the outcome. That's why there is a huge people saying that I don't want to die because I want to live a legendary life. You can't live a legendary life. You can't. What you can do is slowly live one day, 2 day, and make one day one person's life happier. If you go out, give to the security, thank him for his work, appreciate him. If you do small things every day, and when you look back, as Chief Jobs says, you can only connect the dots when you look back, and that's when you create a legendary life. You can't create a legendary life just like today. No. What you can do is small thing. You can do small things in a big way. That is what in a whole that we can do. Now, another question that one has to ask itself is that how it's not that we have to suppress our desire. No, that is not the goal over here. See, every desire that we have is basically saying that it will require validation, confirmation, evidence, security. So these are the things. Validation, security, evidence, securement, satisfaction. If you are looking these things in your world, approval, any desire, the want, what to want in life, and the wants of the want is basically saying this thing. And until and unless, and this thing we are seeking through all of these things we are trying to do is basically seeking this thing. If you want an MPL, for example, why do we want an MPL? Is because we are internally, we need to have validation, security, evidence. We need to feel the satisfaction. We need to have the confirmation feeling. Is that all we require? And we look this in our external world. We look the permission, security in the external world. That is why there is an amplification law. I've heard a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of millionaires. They earn something. They earn something, but they still have this hole in their heart. But I've also, it's because even there is so many people that I've talked to, and they say they want X amount of money, and they get the X amount of money. Okay, so they get this X amount of money, but still they have to sell this, or it's just lying up there, but they still have this hole in their heart. Okay, why? It's because they're still seeking things from the external world. That is why. Now I've also heard people that their money just magnifies you. Okay, they're good in the inside, and what happens is that good is magnified. So again, if you see people who help, okay, I've heard people who has money that also helps. I've heard people that who has nothing in their life, they also go and do charity. Why do they go and do charity? It's not because they have a lot, because they have something good in their heart, and they're doing it. So you don't lack anything in this world. If you have it in the heart, it will be magnified. Whether you have whether you have a lot of money or whether you don't have a lot of money, it doesn't matter. If you have it in the heart, it will be magnified. So all these things, if you don't give yourself, what is going to happen is you're going to seek it in the external world, and the external world will reflect again. So what you have to do is go work on this, cut this emotional baggage, work on it with the help of mental faculties, and slowly it will infuse into your identity. And then what will happen is your external world will also change into this internal world. So that in none of itself is, I will end this by saying one more thing from the book Outsmarting Reality by Nero, who is a young author from British. He says there is the magnification. The universe works in few things: magnification and maintenance. Two M's in the universe. Magnification can be positive and negative. Okay, this is positive growth. This you see is maintenance. This you see maintenance. This is magnification but negative. This is magnification but positive. This is maintenance. Okay, so basically this magnification and maintenance is gonna give you some mental nudges. Mental nudges is basically you saying, take that right, talk to this person, I have a gut feeling of this, do that, and that is basically inner tuition or intuition. Okay, how do you magnify and maintain? So again, your environment is very crucial over here. How do you magnify and maintain each thing? This will determine your inner tuition or intuition, and this will lead to your actions that you create. I want to end this by saying a few things. One being that, see, it doesn't matter that you learn a lot of books. Okay, I was interested in psychology 9 years, 10 years ago. I took two degrees. I wanted to know what these things are. It's because I'm always like an engineer. I want to know how things work. Otherwise, it will never suffice my intelligence. It's like if you say to me, write something 100 times and say let go, it doesn't work in my mind. At the same time, you don't have to read a lot of hundreds and thousands of books to understand something as well. Some people are very, very different. I met this girl who was 54 years old, and she has literally traveled half of the planet. And I asked her, I spoke to her 2-3 hours, and I asked her what's her life's philosophy, and what she says is that I'm only doing good, so good things will come to me. So she wakes up every day and she says that, and she lives. So she doesn't read hundreds and thousands of books. What I'm saying is you don't have to binge watch, you don't have to subscribe, you just have to know how things are working. How, like Dale Swan says, that life is about progression, not perfection. And there is also a good poet Nayab, where she says, Zindagi jeene ki hai, jeetne ke liye. Life is about living, not winning. So all this suggests that you don't need to know a lot of information. There is analysis paralysis also, which is a real thing. The more you know, what will happen is there is a lot of sea of knowledge that you don't know. So what you see is that you want to learn more, and you actually doubt in the things that you actually know also. So don't acquire a lot of things unwantedly, binge watch a lot of knowledge, binge watch a lot of things. It doesn't work. So just know what is actually required. So that is why the reason that I made this video on metacognition or ubiquitous assimilation is absorbs everything and anytime and anywhere, is basically to know how the brain works and the binary mind works. Because it's easy, I can go to fishing and give the fishes, but if I can teach you how to fish, you can do it in any time. You can navigate through life whenever you have any bad day in the life. You can go work out on your ego faculties with the help of mental faculties and slowly infuse your identity, and you wake up one day and then you will be very happy to live another best day to live. You feel like that. So I hope that this has given you enough insight. At 26, Alhamdulillah, I am able to understand this. I hope that you take in everything, and this is how metacognition works, ubiquitous assimilation works. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.